Well, this is where I'm at, Ron. I go back to what you said earlier about Joe Bowen's comments, both on the air and social media, about the fans. It is incredibly expensive to go to a Leafs game. I've been to one game this year, and that was tickets for as payment for a job I did, because otherwise we couldn't afford to go. And the last 10 playoff games, they scored more than 2 goals one time. With all that money up front, with all that talent, with $30 million in your top 3 forwards, you have scored more than 2 goals one time in the playoffs, and you've lost the last 5 home playoff games. Okay, so give the fans something to cheer about. How about scoring 3, 4, or 5 goals and seeing that all that firepower that just runs roughshod through the season on display in the postseason? How about shutting up Brad Marchand and not letting him do what he wants out there in the ice? Give the fans something to cheer about. Don't let in a soft goal short side if you're Samsonov. I mean, what's been bothering me the most this series and the 2 losses is the Leafs score and the Bruins score 60 seconds later. The fans have barely stopped clapping for your goal and Bruins score and reply and respond to it. So it's up to Sheldon Keefe, who's got last change Saturday night for Game 4. But if you're Mitch Marner and you're Austin Matthews and you're the big boys making the big money, you're not paid for January. You're paid for late April. Games like this. This is where you're going to earn your money. Look what Anze Kopitar did last night. You know, that overtime goal in such a hostile environment. Look what Jack Eichel's doing with the Vegas Golden Knights. He made a backhand pass on a goal of Marchessault through the goalie, through the defenseman legs on Marchessault's sticks. How about something like that? And get the fans engaged, get that building rocking, score more than 2 goals in the game. I know, what a concept. And make it a no-doubter. So you have some momentum going into Game 5 in Boston. That's the biggest challenge for the Leafs on Saturday night is to play their game and not worry about Boston and take control of that game and not let Boston keep coming back into it.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
The Oilers are a different team than they were 2 months ago. Clearly they are, but tell me how, Bob.
Rod, there's a stat. The stat is 5-on-5 goal share. That's a huge stat that illustrates how you can do come playoff time. The Oilers were 22nd in the league under Dave Tippett, and under Jay Whitcroft, they're 6th at like 56.5%. If you're in the top 8 in goal share 5-on-5 as a team, you can win.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Okay, thank you. All right, Bob Stauffer, whatever you say. Welcome, everybody, to the RP Show. It's what we call a Football Friday. It's the day that we reserve for football, but in this opening segment where we go through the quick 6 show topics, we cover all sports. Let's bring in the Moose. Did I move the camera? I think we're good. Yeah, I'm centered. Gotcha. Let's go, baby. As you said, Moose, everything's happening. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, Jim Barker, hour 1. David Naylor, hour 2. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please? Director Bryce, who's in for Jordan, and let's go. We don't have a lot of time to get to all of this. Jim Barker, segment 2. So right now it's me and Moose, and we open with the big story. We're on national television in Canada, of course. The Toronto Maple Leafs knocked off the Boston Bruins last night 2-0. Wee Willie Nylander scored twice. Joseph Wall made 22 saves. And it was a 2-0 victory, forcing Game 7 on Saturday night. Toronto's overcome a 3-1 series deficit, also staving off elimination with a 2-1 victory in overtime in Boston on Tuesday to send it back for that winner-take-all game Saturday night. Now, the series winner will face the Florida Panthers, and I get a real bang out of Tim Peel, the former NHL referee, who he's figured it out. Say outlandish things on social media, you'll get a major reaction. And he said neither of these teams are going to do anything against Florida. But whatever. Here's my thing. We're old here in Florida, Darren. I went to bed after the first period. It was 0-0. I'm laying in bed, and I'm like, I can't. I got it for the third. I was just too into it, man. And Joe Bowen would be very happy with the seat at Scotiabank Arena last night. Everybody's out of their seat, waving towels, blah, blah, blah. I found myself cheering for the Leafs. It's not a lie. I wanted them to win, and they did, and they're going to Game 7. How excited are you for it?
Yeah, I think this series has completely turned around. I mean, it feels like we're a long ways from where we were just, 4 days ago when everybody was calling for firings and talking about the house cleaning that was going to happen in the offseason. as early as this, the end of the week. Now they've made it to the weekend. They've made it to Game 7, and everything seems to be okay, at least for the time being. Joseph Wall, big part of that. He was fantastic. Here's where the Leafs are different for me, is they go on a run in that opening period. I think they were out shooting Boston 14-1, and they didn't score. And I thought that was going to be a problem. You can't let good hockey teams come up off the mat. And then they had a 4-minute power play. And I was texting one of my best friends who's a Boston Bruins fan, and I said, this is it. If Toronto doesn't score on this 4-minute power play, Boston is going to just come up off the mat like The Undertaker and wipe them off the face of the earth. They didn't score, but they still remained composed and just stuck to the game plan. And that's what good teams do. Not saying Toronto's going to win this series. I always, all along, predicted Boston in 7, but it just feels like it's a little bit of a different team, and Saturday should be fun.
All, and I mean all, the pressure is on the Bruins. They're sitting there going, oh no, not again. And I stayed largely off social media last night, but the few things that I did see, one was that the Leafs are ironically and somewhat miraculously underdogs now. Nobody expects them to win. They are going into Boston with no pressure. So we could sit here and talk about it for 2 hours, but you know what? Other shows are. But they played a very good game on Thursday night, and it should be fun. I have no clue. My sponsor, Bob, texted me this morning. He's like, who's your money on for Game 7? I said, I can't. I have no feel at all for this series. I was wrong the last 2 games. I did pick Leafs in 7 going in, so let's stick with that. Point 2 tonight. The Vancouver Canucks need just 1 win tonight to book their ticket into the second round of the NHL playoffs. Vancouver carries a 3-2 lead in its best-of-7 opening round series into Nashville against the Preds. The Canucks fell 2-1 on Tuesday with a chance to take the series in 5. Elsewhere, Dallas looks to earn a backdoor sweep against Vegas in Game 6. Where are these new names coming up from? I'm not sure that I like it. Joe Madden said it was a gentleman's sweep, Florida over Tampa in 5. I'm like, never heard that. Only been in sports my whole life. A backdoor sweep? Yeah, whatever. What's exciting about this is we're now into elimination games. The Golden Knights face elimination at home. This is some serious stuff we're into, dude. Serious stuff.
It really is. And that whole series, it's big boy hockey. Back and forth, tight. And I have a feeling we're going to do our picks at some point next hour, I'm sure. I have a feeling that this series isn't over. Spoiler alert, but it's great hockey. And, both teams were bad at home to start the series. Dallas picked up a win. They figured it out. We'll see if Vegas, they'll need to figure out a way to win a game on home ice to extend it.
Like I said, game whatever it was, 5, I think, in Dallas. I had anxiety just watching the fans, and I don't care who wins. I really don't. But it's going to be gongers in the Fortress tonight. But yes, a great hook there by you, Darren, to keep people coming back in hour 2. We'll make our picks for tonight's games then. But kudos to Darren. He picked the Leafs last night. I had the Bruins, and I was wrong, as was Alan May. Point 3, the Toronto Blue Jays are in Washington, opening a 3-game series against the Nationals tonight, aiming to snap a 2-game slide. Toronto dropped the final 2 of 3 at home against Kansas City to drop to 15-17. Yusei Kikuchi starts on the mound for the Jays, while the Nationals counter with Patrick Corbin. By the way, here's a reminder. Reward your love of movies by signing up for Landmark Extras for free today. Starting tonight in theaters, The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling. We'll find out if it's anywhere near the real Fall Guy, Lee Majors and Heather Thomas. But you get more of what you love at landmarkcinemas.com to sign up. Landmark Extras. Darren and I belong to it. Free movies, concession items, private screenings, exclusive events. We've done it all, and you can too. It's not that big a deal. You can sign up for free. Well, how about this breaking news today? Darren's alerted me to this because my mind's been in other places, other sports places. Not NFL. I wasn't thinking NFL today because it's supposed to be the off season. Placeline Buffalo. The Bills continued to add to the team's wide receiver room after the draft, signing Chase Claypool to a 1-year deal, the team announced Friday morning. The 6'4", 238-pound receiver brings veteran depth to a receiver room that's being reconstructed after Stephon Diggs was traded, Gabe Davis left in free agency, and Keon Coleman was drafted 33rd overall. Claypool ran a 4.42 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine back in 2020. He's 25 years of age. We all know he's from Vancouver area, Canada. He has been with 3 teams over the past 2 years, most recently with the Miami Dolphins after the Bears traded him in October. He caught 4 passes in 9 games with Miami. So, despite the fact the green and white Saskatchewan Roughriders added Chase Claypool to their negotiation list, he's staying in the NFL. He's going to Buffalo. That'll really perk up. We've got a lot of Bills fans that watch this show. He's got another chance, Darren. We'll see what he does with it.
Yeah, another chance. Big body receiver for Josh Allen. And, you know, one of the things that was questioned about Chase Claypool, I don't know if it's work ethic, but just certain plays that, you know, not being completely engaged and starting to develop a bit of a reputation, which is tough. He's only 25, so lots of opportunity to fix this, resurrect the career, fix the public image, and come and be a really productive weapon for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. He should be given every opportunity in camp to earn a spot. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I didn't see this. Again, you said that the Dolphins have signed Odell Beckham Jr. I haven't seen this anywhere. I went to ESPN.com. It's not there. It might be now. Where did you learn of OBJ coming to Miami?
I got a notification on my phone. So it popped up not long before showtime.
You literally wonder why newspapers are a thing of the past, the 24-hour news cycle. Like, my God. Chase Claypool to the Bills, OBJ to Miami. Both have checkered pasts, but I'll say this, as a guy that has one, you keep getting chances when you're that talented. Chase Claypool, Bills willing to give him a chance. OBJ, the Rams won a Super Bowl with him, right? He didn't do much in Baltimore last year, but they were still a very good team. They were the number 1 seed in the playoffs, right, in their conference. I think OBJ has a house here. So I also don't like the fact that OBJ's bouncing around here at the end of his career, but maybe he's okay with that. Maybe he's okay with that. He's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I can tell you what the Dolphins fans will be saying, though. They'll be saying, can we sign some defensive players? We scored 70 points last year, never won a game in the playoffs. I know that's what they'd rather have, but talent's talent, and probably got him on a cheap deal. I don't know what the terms were, Darren. Maybe you do.
I don't know, but, you know, that's the one thing when you're somebody like OBJ, a chance to go and play where you want to play with players you want to play with. You know, he's not going to be a top receiver in Miami. Instantly, he's going to be behind Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. He's going to be at least the 3rd or 4th option in that receiving core, but an opportunity to come in and contribute. And if he's got a place there, play where he wants to play, live where he wants to live, and try and chase the Super Bowl. I think that's, you know, a fun luxury that he has.
Dipping into the comments here, 902-518-3033 for Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beers. Ask for them by name at your local beer, wine, and spirit store like Total Wine and Spirits here in Florida. Buffalo Bill has texted in from North Dakota. He says, Football Friday, awesome. Brian in Hudson's Bay says, Rod, I think them new sayings are all American things. A gentleman's sweep, a backdoor sweep, whatever. I'm not going to get upset about it, but I'm like, why? Where do these things come from? Like, you know what? When I left the Regina Pats and then didn't, for the most part, you know, in 2010 for 10 years, and then I came back and I was calling the games on television every game. I was like, where did all these new sayings come? The bumper position? What the hell is the bumper position? And why? I understand things change, but it's not like the bumper position's new. It's always been there. They just give them new names. There's no names for sweeps. I don't get it. Kirk in Toronto writes in, Hi, Rod. Wall was a wall. Too bad he lost a shutout with 0.1 seconds to go. Unreal. The guy that always wants to write in about the Argos on a Football Friday wants to talk about the Leafs. It's so Toronto thing. But I'll say this for the Cats and Bolts podcast. Serena and I did it. It dropped yesterday. Here's one thing. Too bad the shutout was blown. Sergei Bobrovsky isn't in the top 10 in goals against average in the playoffs. Look it up. He doesn't care. When the Panthers won 13 games in a row in the regular season, he was the one in January telling everybody, if you recall, because I talked about it on this show, chill. This doesn't mean anything at this time, right? And he's right. So the shutout, it doesn't matter, man. The win is the thing. Hey, I wanted to do a CFL draft recap. We got some time here before we bring in Jim Barker. And by the way, speaking of gyms, this celebration of life is this afternoon for Jim Hupson, a guy that we've given all of our tributes to on this program since he passed away last month, the Hall of Fame president of the Rough Riders. I'm interested to get Jim Barker's take on the draft, and he's lined up, probably watching right now. He's got grades for every team. I also want to talk about how NIL has changed recruiting in football for the Canadian Football League, and we'll get into the NFL stuff too. But I've enjoyed talking to my football guys. I was talking to Dave Randorf when he was through here with the Lightning last week about us still being CFL fans, although neither of us work in the league anymore. And he goes, well, you still watch the games. And I said, of course I watch the games, but as far as the day-to-day minutia, not really following it. So I've enjoyed talking to the football people since Tuesday night's draft to see who made sneaky good picks, who made bad picks, who made really risky picks. And I think we can all agree Saskatchewan's draft was very risky. And this is my take on the green and white, because there's a lot of Saskatchewan people that watch this show for that daily. Darren, there's a hell of a lot of pressure on the offensive coordinator, Mark Mueller, and the head coach, Corey Mace. You were just with them last week. They know that. They're not stupid. They've been in this league for a long time. But what I don't like is they have missed the playoffs the last 2 years. The first year, they blamed it on Cody Fajardo. How'd that work out? Last year, they blamed it on Craig Dickinson. How'd that work out? This year, if Trevor Harris goes down, they're still probably going to miss the playoffs because they didn't have an adequate backup to win games without their number one guy. And who does that fall on? Management, which, by the way, isn't the quarterback or the coach. And if people can't see that, they either are blind or don't want to see it. So that's what I'm looking for with rookie camps ready to open next week, is that while it's all hunky-dory and everybody's happy and keep it positive, you got to do your talking on the field. And they got a lot to prove. Deal or no deal.
Yeah, of course. There's a ton to prove there. And, it is very optimistic, in Saskatchewan around this football team. And for good reason. They brought in some good people. But you still need to go out and win the football games. That's going to be the biggest challenge. Can you get this offense dialed up, bring in the new pieces, get them all working together? I've always cautioned, to be patient, that it's probably going to be, I would imagine a step forward for that team this year, but not a Grey Cup step forward. That shouldn't be the expectation. It should be step forward, hope you get back into the playoffs, and in year two, start to look to contend. These things, while the CFL rebuild can be really short, it doesn't happen overnight. So it'll be interesting to see what pieces come together and what the team actually looks like on the field.
It's a 9-team league. You should be a Grey Cup contender every year. That's a fact, Jack. Okay, Moose, I'll see you in hour 2. This has been fun.
You bet. See you then.
The great Jim Barker is in next from the CFL on TSN. We've got college, NFL, and CFL football to talk to with Jim. And by the way, to prep everybody, going to keep you, Jim, for 2 segments, if that's cool with you. We'll be right back on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Here is the beautiful thing about daytime sports talk. Breaking news. Podcasts don't have this. On this Friday, not only will we learn Chase Claypool signed with the Buffalo Bills and OBJ, Odell Beckham is signed with the Miami Dolphins. The Canadian Football Hall of Fame has announced the 2024 induction class, and thank you, Clark, for alerting me to it. And it is Marvin Coleman, Weston Dressler, S.J. Green, Vince Goldsmith, Ray Yauch, Ed Laverty, and Chad Owens, the Flying Hawaiians. So let's please bring in Jim Barker with a hell of a lot to talk about, Coach. Your thoughts when you hear that list?
Well, it's exciting for me. Chad Owens was a big part of what we were doing here in Toronto and helping to get that thing turned around, and very, very deserving. I thought he was great for the league. Ray Yauch is the guy who was my first guy I ever worked for in this league. And again, what he did before, I'm not real familiar with because I wasn't here, but he was just such a great guy and a great coach. And when I got hired with my first job, I brought him in to coach our offense. So up in Toronto in 99, back when I was a youngster. So it's a great list. I mean, S.J. Green, Weston Dressler, I mean, those guys are solid players. So no, I'm excited about that.
They really got it right. Carlos in Indianapolis watching. He says that's a strong Hall of Fame class. It is. It's funny. They tagged Weston's Twitter in it, and the last I knew, Weston locked himself out of it. So I hope he gets into it and with regards to this announcement. So we can have some fun with that. But we got questions from the viewers. I prepped you that we would be talking about Tuesday night CFL draft. It seems like so long ago, but is there a clear winner in your mind? Is there that jumps out that had a really strong draft in your mind?
I think there was a couple teams that I think everybody kind of helped themselves. I think were a lot of strange picks. For example, let's talk about the Riders. You mentioned the Riders early because their draft was really intriguing to me. They got two of the best players in the draft in Hergel and Wiebe. The problem is Hergel, I don't know if he'll ever play in this league. I had him rated as the top player in the entire draft. And my problem is, even though he's only 6'2" and he's got short arms and he only got $10,000 to sign and a $10,000 guarantee, he's exactly what the NFL wants. He's a tough, gritty player. We had a guy in Toronto, an American from Penn, named Greg Van Roten, who played 2 or 3 years with us and then went down and is still playing in the NFL. I think he's been there 7-8 years. Guy named Mark Dixon, same type of thing, played for me in Montreal and then went and played for 8 years in the NFL because they were just tough, gritty, balanced. He has a lot of things. So could they have got Hergel in the second round and Wiebe in the third round? I think they could have, but they knew what they wanted. They went out and got it. So kudos to them for doing that. I would have done it different, but then I might have lost, I might have lost one of them anyway. And they got two guys they wanted. But they did not help themselves this year with a top 2-round guy. I thought they drafted very well in the middle of the draft. They took a guy in Malik Straker in the 4th round that I had ranked. I thought he could be a 1st-round pick. He's just a little undersized, but he's a ball player. He's a lot like a Darius Pickett. That's who he plays like. He doesn't run great. He didn't run great at his pro day. It was like a 4.8. But he reminds me of Pickett when I watch him play. But one of the things that a lot of teams told me was they felt like he was a one-position guy, and the one position he played is not traditionally a Canadian position. So, again, I really liked him as a player. What they're going to do with him, are they going to let him play, Sam? Last year, I know some of the things that Corey Mace did with Pickett, bringing him off the edge. Straker's just fantastic at that. He's very quick. He closes like a madman. He's very, very physical. Great. He was one of my favorite players in the draft. I actually thought he was a perfect fit for Toronto at 5 because they didn't pick again until late. They didn't even take him in the 3rd round. So, again, I think it came down to a couple things with him. But I liked him. I liked Del Busby, the receiver they took, which is he's very different from Analysts and from Kean Schaefer-Baker. He's a former basketball player, and so he's going to be great. People are talking about him as a slot because he's a great blocker. He was the best blocker in the draft of the receivers. He and Clarcius. I think Clarcius is a real good blocker too. But Clarcius is he's a 219 guy, where Busby I think he's going to be great on the line of scrimmage because he's a former basketball player. He's got great spot quickness. He doesn't play fast. I interviewed him at the combine and I said, I think you make more big plays. You're the best blocker in this thing, but I could never sell you as a 4.8 guy. And that's what I think you're going to run. This was before the run. He goes, "Oh no, coach." He goes, I'll run in the 4.5s. I said, I said, there's no way you're going to run the 4.5s. Well, the next night was the 40 testing and I was up announcing, and he, of course, ran 4.56 and came sprinting up to where I was and said, "I told you, coach, I told you." So, running 4.56, he can step in and play out there. Again, Schaefer-Baker and Analysts are different. So I think he fits what they do well. They took a Joe, which is an interesting guy, maybe the most interesting guy in the draft. If they can get through to him, he's going to take quality coaching. So that's the Riders.
Yeah, I got to stop you, please. David, number 1 in Winnipeg, because we have 3 from Winnipeg that watch this show. David, number 1, writes in and says, "Good morning, Rod. Just want to get Jim's take on the Bombers and Stamps doing pick trades and the Bombers receiver that they drafted."
Well, okay, I love the trade for Calgary, because what happened was Laval took the offensive lineman. There were 3 offensive linemen that you could say they can come in and compete to play right now. And the first one, was Una, who was taken by BC. And then Hamilton surprised everybody because they didn't really need an offensive lineman. But Dumoulin Duguay from Laval was very, very good. He was one of the top 3 guys without question. And Hamilton stepped in and he was the top guy on their board and they took him. Well, that left only Christy Nakanu as a guy who you'd think might have a chance to step in and play right away. So Dave Dickinson pulled the trigger on it. I give him a lot of credit for that. He said, you know what? We're not going to get stuck with our quarterback getting hit, and Bryce Bell has got an injury issue. They've got some, they lost Severe this year. They're undergoing change on the offensive line. So they went out and made the trade to get him. Now, in doing that, they give up 2 seconds, okay, which Winnipeg used. So that gave Winnipeg 4 second-round picks. So the first one, they took Kevin Clarcius, the receiver we talked about, 6'2", 219, outstanding blocker. I think he reminds me of Markeith Ambles in terms of how physical he is and that kind of thing. Doesn't catch the ball real natural, but he's going to be a guy that they're going to be able to bring along. I'm sure they'll play him out where Wolodarski plays some and try to improve his hands a bit and that kind of thing. But he can play he can't do the things Dembski does, but that's a good spot for him. So I was a little surprised they took him, but he was the next best receiver on the board. So they took the best receiver that I felt was on the board there. And then they took a guy named Michael Chris Ike, who's from Hamilton, who played at Delaware State, a running back. Now, he was the testing. He and Luke Brubaker were the 2 testing gurus at the Combine. Personally, on film, I think Chris Ike runs a little high. He's kind of the opposite of what Brady Oliveira is. Brady runs very low to the ground, tough to tackle. Chris Ike runs a little higher. He's not real physical, not a great protector, but he did play a lot of special teams at Delaware State, and I'm sure that played into it a lot. So they're looking at, Johnny Augustine. They have Johnny Augustine already, and now by being able to draft him, it gives them, a little even more strength. Now, I didn't have him as the top running back. I had Matthew Pedersen, who I thought Ottawa should have taken. I mean, as we talk about some of these teams, Ottawa, I thought their first 2 picks were outstanding. Now, I would have done it in the opposite order because I felt there was more receivers, and Nick Mardner was the best receiver, most pro-ready receiver in the draft in terms of on film. On film, he's the most ready to step in and play. 6'6". He ran a 4.58 recently. Went to Auburn his last year and hardly got to play, but was at Hawaii and Cincinnati prior to that. And again, I don't know much about his background. But as a straight player, I thought they needed one. The only Canadian receiver they have is Keaton Brugling, and he's an inside guy, which is where they would like to play Braylon Addison. So they were able to get an outside guy in Nick Mardner with that first pick, and then to take Daniel Opoco with the second pick. Again, I thought that was a great choice for them because Cleon Lang is going to be 34 years old. Go ahead.
I apologize. We got 3 minutes here. Ryan in Upstate, in this segment, if you don't mind, we'll bring you back for another after the break. But Ryan in Saratoga, New York says, question for Coach Barker. He's a New York Jets fan. He says, how much of a benefit will it be for Quantez Stiggers to learn from his new teammates Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed? For those that don't know, of course, the CFL Rookie of the Year last year, Quantez Stiggers, DB with the Argos, drafted by the Jets on the weekend.
Well, that's a great spot for him, and from what I understand from Quantez was he felt at home with the Jets. They just made him feel a part of it, and I think he's got a great opportunity there, and it's going to be interesting to see. You asked about the NIL earlier. Well, where guys they're getting paid down there, but this opens up, if Quantez goes down and has success, it opens up a whole new avenue where players don't have to go to university. They can come up, they can potentially play if they're good enough, Like I say, Quantez played the fan-controlled league. I saw him down there playing in the championship game. I went down to visit John Jenkins, who was running the league, and came back and talked to Vince Magri about him, and we were able to get him signed. But he's just a different kind of guy. He was 20 years old. Actually, he was 19 when we signed with us. But I think that it's a perfect spot for him. The players will love him there. He's got the right kind of attitude. He's a phenomenal young man. And, to be 21 years old, having been an MVP in a pro league already, it wasn't like he was rookie of the year. He was the rookie of the year, the best rookie in the entire league in a professional league at 21 years old. So great pick by the Jets. The other thing in the NFL draft that was real interesting was Detroit actually trading up to get Manu. Now, Manu ended up getting drafted by Winnipeg. If he's ever here, I'll be stunned because they traded to get him, and he's got a future down there. I know how excited they are about him. And what a great spot for him, playing for Dan Campbell in that new, energetic environment. I think that'll be a great spot for him. So it's interesting. Theo Benedette was drafted, I thought, a little early by BC. He was drafted in the second round by the BC Lions. He got $20,000 to sign and $100,000 guarantee, which means he's going to be there at least 2 years. He'll be there this year for sure on the practice roster, which will get him his $100,000 guarantee. But the chances are, by the time they put that time into him, they'll keep him around. I'm guessing he's at least 3 years away and possibly more. But then the next day they signed Christian Covington, who they drafted 9 years ago. So maybe that had something to do with it. They said, even if we don't get him for 9 years, we maybe will eventually get him.
Thank you, Coach Barker. If I may be so bold and call you Coach Barker, we'll get to as many questions as we can when we come back with one more segment. Perfect. It'll be a little shorter one, however. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, and, of course, streaming Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The race for the Cantera Seat Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes, and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seats Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
It's a fabulous Football Friday. Breaking news on this Friday. The Canadian Football Hall of Fame has announced the 2024 induction class. If you missed it earlier, we read it. Marvin Coleman, Weston Dressler, S.J. Green, Vince Goldsmith, Ray Yauch, Ed Laverty, and Chad Owens, the Flying Hawaiian. Let's please bring Jim Barker back in. I did ask him to provide grades on all the teams in their draft. So before we get out of this, we'll try to get to those, Coach. But John Ohm, he's a faithful viewer every day. In Winnipeg. He's a Rider fan. He says, Coach Barker, do you think Trevor Harris at age 38 going into camp is a liability to the Riders? They got rid of their number 2 quarterback, Dolagala. What's next for QB1? Asking as a concerned fan.
Well, Trevor Harris is not a liability. I mean, if I'm going in, I would much rather have Trevor Harris than a lot of the other guys that are in the league. I mean, he's 38, but he's been lightly played. I mean, it's not like he was a backup for quite a while and early in his career. He's been in fantastic shape. Yeah, he got hurt. He missed all of last year. So I don't look at him as like a beat up 38. I look at him as a guy who's a veteran player who he and Mueller will get onto the same page, I believe, and their passing game will be improved. But I'd much rather be going in with Trevor Harris than, again, nothing on Dolagala or Fine or no Shea Patterson, whoever else they bring in. I'd much rather have Trevor Harris. I mean, I have a guy who I know what he's going to do. He's been through the pressure before. When we line up in that first game, which I touted 2 months ago with you, that first game of the year, Edmonton and Saskatchewan as one of the biggest games of the year, I'm going to have Trevor Harris. They're going to have McLeod Bethel Thompson. It's going to be at least 2 veteran quarterbacks going at it. I would not want a young quarterback going against McLeod. Like I say, you got 2 38-year-old quarterbacks, but they're veteran guys who aren't going to lose games for their teams. They're gonna execute and understand their limitations, I believe. So I would not look at Trevor Harris as a liability. I would be excited that I have him for another year. Who knows how long he's going to be able to play? He does keep himself in fantastic shape. He lives very healthy. I know that just because he was with us for so long. And I know what kind of leader he can be. So this will be his team going in, and Corey will empower him to do the things you have to do as a starting quarterback to get a team up to the next level. And you're right; they need to be a playoff team this year.
I watched the Riders on the road in Edmonton and in Calgary last year with Trevor at quarterback, and I was like, "Wow, is he polished? He's got it." And then he got hurt, and the whole season just went up in smoke. Yep. I'll get to as many fan questions as I can. but I did ask you for those grades. Can you rattle through those as quickly as you can since you did it? I asked you to.
I didn't really give them. What I did was I basically I look at them as, was it a complete, okay, Edmonton, when I look at Edmonton, they had a bizarre draft. Now, was it wrong that they took DeBlanco with the first pick and then they took DK Bonham with the second pick? Now, DK Bonham, everybody says, why would you take him? Well, when you watch film on him, he's a very, very talented athlete who just hasn't played much. He got hurt at South Alabama, sat out a year. He was at Indiana, didn't play a whole lot there. He's 225 pounds. Is he too small to play on the edge? Again, I think there's going to be a lot of people in the CFL this year that are going to play with a tight end. They're going to play two back, and you better be physical up front. Is he going to be physical enough to be a defensive end? They drafted him as a defensive end. I'm positive. There's no way that they drafted him as a linebacker. So they get DeBlanco, who's going to walk in day one and be a great leader. The rest of their draft, the thing that surprised me, they did not take a receiver. Now they have Cobb and Forbes Montbleau. That's basically the two receivers, Canadians, they have. They have Curly Gittens Jr., but I believe Curly's going to be on the injured list for the first 6 games. That shocked me that they didn't take a receiver, because there was about 6 of them you could say would have a chance to make their team. And they just chose not to do that. They went after, linebackers, guys who can run. They went after a couple of offensive linemen late. But again, didn't go after an offensive lineman, early enough, I think, to get a guy that is going to be able to help them. They signed Hunter Stewart and Shane Richards, a couple guys that got let go by their previous teams because they felt they were inadequate to be a 6th guy. Are you waving?
Sorry,
at
I
me?
just want to tell you, we have no, it was at our camera guys. We have 2.5 minutes left in the segment.
Okay.
So we can't go too deep on every
Go
team.
ahead and ask me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Whatever is good. I don't need to do these grades. I got a lot of that across, unless you want them.
Yeah.
BC Lions.
No, it's fine.
I give them about a C.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because they got Una, who I think is going to be able to step in. I think he might be better than Knievel at left guard. I think he's a solid pick. I didn't like Benedette drafted where he was. They took Theo Johnson, who I don't think will ever get up here. And I wasn't big on their receiver they took. They took Ezekiel Tidy, and I'm sure they took him because he's a lot like Katoy, just a real big guy. Used to be a quarterback, real smart. I wasn't real high on him personally, but that's me. I know that Dwayne Ford and Marshall Ferguson, they were both very high on him. They thought it was a great pick. So again, it's all beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You know how that goes. So their draft was very mediocre to me. Calgary surprised me with taking LaBrosse first. I would give them probably a B. I did love that they made the trade that they made. They drafted with the second part of that trade. They traded 2 second-round picks, got a third-round pick, and they drafted Georgia Doko, who is again an undersized defensive end. And I've heard they might try to move him to fullback. I don't know. So. Again, that's their draft was middling to me. I thought Hamilton did a real nice job, but they took they took Luke Brubaker at 15, which could be a great pick and might not be so great a pick. You just don't know. He's a guy who tested fantastic. Like, you got, to me, and I talked about this a little on the show, you got 2 guys. One it shows on the field he's a great football player. That was Straker. The other doesn't play like a great football player, but he's 6'4". He runs he ran a 4.5 or 4.6 and change, just at 6'5", 245 pounds. He had a 38-inch vertical jump. He has all the tools. He just has only played 2 years. He was a boxer, and is he going to develop in time to be worthy of that 15th pick? Again, it's exactly where he should have been taken. I don't think they took him out of place, but I think it's a bit of a gamble. And the other thing they they got Matthew Pedersen. This is where I thought Ottawa should have taken a guy like Matthew Pedersen. He was my favorite running back in the draft. I thought he runs a lot like Brady Oliveira. He's very low to the ground. He ran a 4.5 and change. He's fast as he has to be. On film, you say, wow, he's not very fast, but you never see him get caught from behind. He catches the ball well. He's an outstanding blocker, which any of these running backs, that's the first thing. They better be great blockers. And where I thought he was way better than Ike was as a blocker. So I like that pick. Montreal drafting last. I know we got to go. Canton Arcu.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a big fan, but he might be a great player up here. And I loved Arthur Hamlin, their second round pick from Colgate. I think he's going to be a perfect for to be behind Decoy. And then the 5th round, they got a guy named Frederick Antoine, a receiver. Watch him. I think he's going to be, if he can stay healthy. Problem is, can he stay healthy?
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff, Coach. We are out of time. It's all good. I appreciate it, man. Have a great weekend. We'll chat with you next week.
Very good. Thanks, Rod.
To the CFL fans that love the intricate, forensic analysis of the CFL draft, there you go with the coach, 5-time Grey Cup champion Jim Barker. We'll be back with a sports update, viewer takeover, and an hour or two, Dave Naylor coming up, and everything's on the table. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Okay, everybody, welcome back for the final segment of Hour 1. It's going to be good like they all are. From the audience, just regarding Jim Barker, our Friday football analyst, he says, as always, Jim Barker is a great guest. From John Ohm, thank you, Jim Barker, for your answers. I respect your thoughts. We promised you a recap of the CFL draft, and there you go. You knew the diehards would love it, and that's why we have Coach Barker on these Fridays. There's a lot of other things going on, however. The Buffalo Bills signing Chase Claypool to a one-year deal today, and the Miami Dolphins signing Odell Beckham Jr. We're talking about that and more coming back next hour. From the other leagues in the sports update, Cone Zimmer scored 2 goals and had a helper as the Prince George Cougars avoided elimination with an emphatic 6-1 win over the Portland Winterhawks Thursday night in Western Hockey League playoff action. Cougars now down 3-2 in the best-of-7 third-round series, the conference final. Game 6 will be Monday at the CN Center in Prince George. The winner advances to the WHL final. Do you remember the National Lacrosse League? They follow up a thrilling playoff quarterfinal weekend that featured 2 one-goal overtime games. With this weekend's semifinals, the top 4 teams during the season have advanced. Number 1, Toronto Rock. Number 2, San Diego Seals. Number 3, Albany Firewolves. And number 4, Buffalo Bandits all advanced last weekend, setting up 2 intriguing semifinal series. Defending league champion Buffalo will take on the number 1 seed Toronto Rock in one semifinal this weekend, and the other is San Diego and first-time playoff winner Albany battling it out in the other semifinal. That series opens tonight in San Diego, 10:30 Eastern. Go to NLL.com for details on where you can watch. Sports Update brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. And also, of course, for Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas today, The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling. From real-life stuntman and director David Leitch, the blockbuster director of Bullet Train, Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde, and Fast and Furious, comes his most personal film yet. A new hilarious, hard-driving, all-star action thriller, but a love story too. The Fall Guy in theaters today. How about that?
How about that?
Yeah, buddy. How about Rick Regan? Allie, you still hanging in? I appreciate you. Last minute of play in Hour 1. Allie in Texarkana says, y'all, pickleball had hit Texarkana. It's everywhere. How did that? What? Pickleball has hit Texarkana, Texas. Got you. It's all over here, too. Florida, obviously. Oh, my God. Pompano Beach Park, you drive by that thing, and there's thousands of pickleball players out there. There's the off-ramp to off-topic town. Next hour, when we come back, Moose and I, we're not just going to stick to football. It's whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about tonight's Stanley Cup playoff games. Talking about that for you, Allie. We'll make our picks. The Stars, your Stars, are in action tonight. The Arena Football League's collapsing before they barely got off the ground. It's the halfway point of the UFL season. A lot to get to right after this.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
The Oilers are a different team than they were 2 months ago. Clearly they are, but tell me how, Bob.
Rod, there's a stat. The stat is 5-on-5 goal share. That's a huge stat that illustrates how you can do come playoff time. The Oilers were 22nd in the league under Dave Tippett, and under Jay Whitcroft, they're 6th at like 56.5%. If you're in the top 8 in goal share 5-on-5 as a team, you can win.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Okay, here we go. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we do this thing on Fridays called Football Friday, but we're opening up the playbook here in hour 2 as we welcome the Moose back in. As you see, I'm in the beautiful Florida studio. He's in the beautiful Toronto studio. And we can, Darren, breathe. Did you feel a little rushed in hour 1, cramming everything into the opening segment there, the Quick Six show topic?
Yeah, we can chill for a couple of segments. It's good.
Yeah, before David Naylor joins us in hour 3 and we crank it all back up again. Moose's Leafs winning last night to force a Game 7, 2-0 over the Boston Bruins. I have not talked to Johnny O today, one of the biggest Boston Bruins fans I know. There are a lot of Boston Bruins fans. Holy smokes. A lot in both Canada and the USA. But I find it, and while it is a Football Friday, allow me for a second, I find it weird. What have I told you as a professional mental health and addiction recovery coach? I've gone through the coaching academy, have my certification in it. You can't schedule feelings. That's what's fun about life. You think you know how you're going to feel at a certain time, but you don't really know until the moment's there. And last night I was watching the Leafs and I wanted them to win. I don't know why. It wasn't because I picked them to win the series in 7, because I don't have any money on it. The Leafs, in a very ironic way, have become an underdog. Who'd have thunk it?
I know. And that's, when you become the underdog, that's when you get a little bit of, public sympathy or a little bit of that fan support.
Yeah, I guess.
Because, we never really want to see somebody get kicked when they're down, right? And so when Toronto was down 3-1 in the series, it was like, okay, they're down. We're not going to kick them anymore. We're going to look ahead, right? We're just not even going to talk about this. Then all of a sudden they start winning, and it kind of feels good that they're getting up off the mat a little bit. And, it's rare because usually they get all the media attention. It's all about, oh, this is the year they're going to win. But now that everybody's folding in the towel, that's when it becomes okay to root for them again. It's really weird.
Yes, it is. Allie in Texas. I feel like it's just the three of us, you, me, and Allie, having this conversation. But she says everyone loves an underdog. And that's me, but I've been unpeeling a lot of layers off the onion in life over the last few years, and I've realized one very clear thing. The world's separated between good people and bad people. And if you enjoy somebody being kicked while they're down, because there are those that feel that way, Darren, you're a bad person. If you take pleasure from others' misfortune, you're a bad person. I don't know why it took me so long and so much education to learn that. But yeah, I don't enjoy it at all. Do you want to make our picks now before we fiddle around with everything else for tonight in the NHL?
Sure.
I've had good days. I've had bad days in our breakaway bets segment. Our sport betting, as I like to call it. So listen, folks, don't take anything that I say. Don't bet on any of it. Vancouver at Nashville. I've picked Van to close it out every game, Canucks fans, just so you know. I'm going to continue. I'll pick Vancouver tonight to close it out, but I've been wrong. How about you?
I'm going to go with the Canucks, too. I think the Canucks are going to end this thing and finally move on. I don't think it's going to go 7, although, Nashville deserves every bit of, where this series has gone. They've been very good.
Dallas at Vegas tonight. I mean, it's unfair to even say what's the game of the night because they're both great. But the Dallas Stars can close out the Vegas Golden Knights tonight in the Fortress. And oh my God. So many people will be cheering against Vegas, Darren. I'm going to take Vegas just because. Those are my friends over there. I'll take Vegas. Sorry, Allie. But how about you?
I want to take Vegas too. You know what? It's okay. I'm gonna take Vegas because that's where I wanted to go. We can have the same picks because we're not gonna be on here tomorrow to break it down. Okay, there's not gonna, we don't need to have a winner and a loser. I guess this one night we either both win, we ride or die together on the pick.
You're taking Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay, so both our picks are the same tonight. Well, that'll be easy. I'm just dipping in back and forth. I just want to have fun in this second hour. If I'm bringing in the audience, you and me, that's what makes us unique in this show. Jen at the Four Seasons writes in and says, good morning, y'all. I'm 3 for 3 watching the Leafs at the Four Seasons Sports Palace. Guess I'm staying to watch on Saturday night. LOL. She works at the Four Seasons. She runs the Four Seasons, let's be honest. I'm sure that the Greek freak over there, the owner and proprietor, is ready to be defibrillated. The Greek freak, George Yanitzos. Brent from Wellington, Florida, writes in, my good buddy who is right here every day. Where did it go? We got so many comments coming in here. They're slipping off the thing. He goes, makes for good sports talk conversation. LOL. Go Leafs. And Brent says, by the way, Panthers Leafs Monday night in Sunrise. Allie's happy that we didn't pick the Stars. She's good with the underdog role, just so you know. The Florida Panthers sent out a news release that round 2 will open Monday night at Amerint Bank Arena. Panthers against either the Leafs or the Bruins. Shameless plug right here for the Cats and Bolts podcast. It's live right now. You can find the link from my Twitter. Cats and Bolts. All one word, Cats and Bolts. where we talk about the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and there's a fun little thing going on. The Panthers fans are trying to get Serena to join them, and she ain't biting. It's fun. It's a fun little theme we got going through the whole thing. So we made our picks there. I'll just say this. There's so much going on. I go back to, is it the best time of year or is it not? For me, it is, because I really, really, really enjoy the hockey playoffs. I understand others feel that the fall is. But how much of hour one did you watch of Jim Barker? And be honest. You're not going to offend me if you didn't watch any or if you watched at all. How much did you watch?
I always have it on. I've always got it on.
Okay. The oxygen was leaving the room with Jim because he was going pick by pick. It was a forensic rundown of the CFL draft, which he didn't do anything wrong. I asked him for that. Okay? So for the CFL super nerds that want to talk about the CFL on here every day, I hope you enjoyed it, because that's why we did it on Friday with Jim Barker. You just saw what it's like to sit around with football people. You saw it. There just happened to be a camera in his face. You know, they get flipping horny over the picks, man. It's incredible. And that's why I've never wanted to work in the team side of things. It's just, we're in the entertainment business, for the love of God, not accounting. How'd you feel?
Detail. The level of detail. I knew that you told me this morning, you're like, yep, been chatting with Jim, told him this is what I want to talk about. You gave him a task and he went after it.
Yeah.
You know? He went after it and he delivered.
Can't fault the guy. I mean, thank God he's as entertaining as he is and a really good speaker. Can you imagine a boring guy doing that? Which, by the way, I know some.
How about that?
There is breaking news today. If you go to rodpedersen.com right now, for the football fans, the Rider fans that are watching right now, the top photo at rodpedersen.com has to do with the 2024 Canadian Football Hall of Fame induction class being announced last hour, which I'm going to get into right here. It's one of the greatest photos in Rider history, in CFL history as far as I'm concerned. Weston Dressler returning, or I don't know what the play, I think it was a kick return. Whatever it was, scoring a touchdown, and over his shoulder is Jim Hobson giving a Do you know the photo I'm talking about? Do you know it? And if you don't, that's fine. I mean, that was right in the peak of Weston was in the watermelon green two-tone lime jersey that we had. And the Rider fan base, it's Football Friday. This is why we're doing it. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. All CFL fans will enjoy this, I think, any football fans. But when I was being paid by the team then. When we introduced that third jersey that was wheat kernels, which why wouldn't we? It's Saskatchewan, with a lime green in it. It didn't go over with universal support, by the way. Not everybody liked that jersey. But that's life. You're not always going to. I think about, and I've talked to Norm Fong, our Hall of Fame equipment manager, about this. I can't really remember what his answer was. But when they changed the Rider logo, I want to say, what was it, Normie? He watches it. 85, 87, 1987? From the old Safeway S to the really cool NFL-looking S now, they were probably ready to riot at the stadium because they don't like change in Saskatchewan. Did you know that? But those third jerseys are, at every fan base, it's a very hotly debated topic. What's your favorite Saskatchewan jersey of all time?
The retros are good. You know, I like that classic with the S, with the the new logo, the new-ish logo, the one that was there throughout the 90s and early 2000s. I like that logo. That, to me, on the helmet is great. The retro one is fine. The blacks were really cool. The blacks were really cool in the Kent and Keith era. That was pretty good.
Clark just said his was the blacks as well. And just so you know, and I'll get to why I'm bringing that up, is with this induction class. That's the photo that I posted to rodpedersen.com right now, was in those retro lime greens. But we had the black jersey. That didn't go over well either. But I remember when Shivers got fired and then Danny Barrett, I went straight to the Riders store and bought a black jersey because I said, these things are never coming back. And I don't even know all my Riders stuff. I do know where it is, but I'm pretty sure that I'll never get my hands on it again. But from the Canadian press, I'm just going to have fun and tell some stories here. I hope you're okay with that. People seem to like it.
Yeah.
I'm reading from the Canadian press. A career that started on the practice roster has earned Chad Owens a spot in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. The electrifying returner receiver topped a stellar 2024 class, announced Friday. Also named were players S.J. Green, Weston Dressler, Marvin Coleman, and Vince Goldsmith, with former CFL coach Ray Yauch and amateur football icon Ed Laverty selected as builders. Joining the Hall's media wing are Steve Daniel, the CFL's Associate Vice President of Football Analytics, and TSN reporter Farhan Lalji. All will be enshrined September 13th in Hamilton. I'm now at an age, since I started covering the league in 1991, of having a story of just about all of them. You know, and the reason I laughed when I read Steve Daniels' name is here's a story, man. What I tell you yesterday about me being advised, chill out. Here's why. 2010, you and I didn't even know each other. We were playing in the Tempire Stadium, the temporary stadium in Vancouver, while BC Place was being renovated for the Olympics. Tempire Stadium, as in temporary, was unbelievable. They just erected this thing with scaffolding, 30,000 seats, outdoor stadium in East Van. It was awesome. But it was like one gigantic Atco trailer, you know, the construction sites. None of it was permanent. Bathrooms were porta potties. I didn't care. I was there to call a game. But the press box was very inadequate, Darren. Very inadequate. And we were all cramped in with each other, like cattle in a pen. So I'm calling a game on the Rough Rider Radio Network, and I've got our entire broadcast is hinging on an extension cord plugged in the wall. And this Steve Daniel, I don't know if I should feel bad about it or not, but he walked behind me and he kicked the plug out of the wall. Knocked us off the air on the Rough Riders Radio Network and the 18 radio stations that carried us all across Saskatchewan. Blank. To say I peaked on Steve Daniel would be an understatement. And like to the point that like Julio Caravata and Bob, what's his name? I shouldn't say Bobby, the current voice of the line. Bob the Moj. He was there. He just knocked us off the air. And they're all like, it was an accident. I don't know. I was never, I don't think, forgiven by that, by the Vancouver media and potentially the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. I don't know. How should I have reacted? Chill out. You see now, when the wire got cut here the other day and we got knocked off the air, I wasn't losing my mind. Yeah. Taking a lot of hours, therapy, thousands of dollars of coaching.
Taking a lot of hits to get to that point.
Yeah. How would you have reacted?
I don't know. It depends. I think for me, it depends on the moment of the game. But I mean, especially, like I can just imagine the Riders coming down the field, big moment of the game. They're on a drive and you're about to call, all of a sudden, you're out off the air. What? So I can imagine that.
It was. But you're a product of your environment, by the way. I'm giving myself a pass. Do you want to know what happened if I screwed something up on the farm as a kid? Snap! My dad. Or if I screwed something up at CK, that's just what I learned.
Yeah.
Before we break, Brian from Hudson Bay writes in, he says, that is a great photo, Rod. Perfect timing with Jim being in there. Hobson, this is the day we celebrate the life of the great Jim Hobson. I got more stories, and with one of these inductees, I'll tell you about the night we lit a Nick Lewis jersey on fire in the parking lot. We'll be right back on a Football Friday here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP Show continues on this Football Friday from beautiful South Florida. They'll be celebrating the Dolphins signing Odell Beckham Jr. today. And thank you, R. Krause, for confirming that signing by texting me. One of the greatest farmers from Rollo, watching the program on Game Plus Television today. And Chase Claypool signing with the Buffalo Bills. Let's please bring in the Moose. I'm going to try to make this not as much of Saskatchewan-centric show today, even though it is a Football Friday, and they're really in the news. Jim Hobson's Celebration of Life is today. Weston Dressler going into the Hall of Fame class. But I want your take on this, Darren. It's a great day to talk football, despite us being ensconced in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But it's also refreshing to talk about something other than hockey today. At least it is for me. Place line, Athens, Georgia. Georgia's Kirby Smart has agreed to a contract extension that makes him the highest paid coach in college football. with an annual salary of $13 million. He surpasses Clemson's Dabo Swinney, who was set to make $11 million this year. Kirby gets a bump in salary of $1.75 million annually as part of the deal, which ties him to the Bulldogs through 2033. And hang on, there's more. Not with regards to that, but Placeline, Scottsdale, Arizona. With the expanded college football playoff locked in through 2031, questions still remain about what the rest of the postseason will look like. One thing is certain, there will still be bowl games. Nick Carparelli, the executive director of the association that represents bowl games, a more professionalized version of college football could quell players opting out of bowls by tying compensation to game participation. He also said giving bowl organizers more freedom to make matchups could help create more compelling games. And before I move on to the UFL, because they're in the news too, you see what they're saying there. You knew they were going to find a way around this. And they're saying we're going to pay the players to play in the bowl games. Do you have a problem with that?
Zero problem with it. I think you got to find a way to make the games mean as much as possible. Otherwise, what's the point of having them, right? A lot of those games lose a lot of interest. Now, expanding it to a 12-team playoff is going to help because a lot of those bowl games will be those, quarterfinals, semifinals, all the rest. So that's going to help. But, I like the idea. Like, you think about how this generically came about, organically came about, and I'm going to make it up because I don't have it in front of me. But the season ended. There was one, national championship game. So the two conferences got together, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, and said, how about your champion plays our champion for the Orange Bowl? Ooh, that's cool. Now we can find out which conference is better. That means something. Bragging rights are on the line. But we no longer know who goes to what bowl games and what they mean and which it's this conference against that conference. None of that matters anymore. They're more or less glorified exhibition games with not really much on the line. The only one that caught our attention was the Pop-Tarts Bowl because of all the fun marketing that happened by the parent company of Pop-Tarts, which was phenomenal. So I like the idea of making the players more involved, giving those bowl committees, a little bit more power. But the expanded playoff will really help with the bowl games having more meaning.
Yeah. Well, listen, I really delved into it when the bowl games were going on. Basically, what would it cost to sponsor a bowl game as a title sponsor? And I think the cheapest was like $250,000. And I think the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl was like one of the cheapest. $250,000. That's the cheapest. You get on ESPN, it's not a small thing for 3 hours, right? But up to Capital One Rose Bowl was $21 million for one game, bro. By the way, a couple things here. Again, back to having fun. They just want to have fun. The viewers just want to have fun. John Ohm writes in and says, random thought, Rod would make an excellent game show host. Never thought about it.
How about that?
Carrie with a K writes in. Carrie Tarasov says, Rod, say the Saskatchewan Roughriders radio network again. Brings back good memories. Oh, I know. You all haven't figured this out yet, but I'm like Lynch. I'm this generation's Lynch. John Lynch's voice brought back good memories for me. My voice will bring back good memories for you, and that will happen to the end of time. It's a mental thing. You'll realize it. I knew it long ago.
Does that make me this generation's you?
Maybe. You're not that much younger than me, bro. Calm down.
No,
Slow your roll. It's funny, by the way. I was on a podcast this morning from Saskatoon. Well, it dropped this morning. We did the interview last night, Clayton Croker. And he went to Wynyard as part of his Saskatchewan rink tour. Did you know that? Did you know that he was in Wynyard? Yeah, you knew that? And he was like, oh, I asked him about Darren Dupont in Wynyard. And they all said, oh, that Darren. Yeah, What does
That's
that
not
mean?
the worst thing to have. I don't know. I think there could be worse things. Oh, that, Darren. I feel like we would say the same thing here at the Rod Pedersen. Oh, that, Darren. Monty in Saskatoon writes in and says, please ask it, please. Ask what, Monty? Ask what? From Mark Pedersen in Prince Albert. He writes in and says, I listened to that podcast this morning. It was a nice surprise to hear you on the podcast. Thank you, Mark. All they wanted to talk about was hockey. But they said that they would bring me back later in the summer when football's top of mind. From an account on YouTube, watching, the account is called Click Here. Click Here says, OBJ won't finish the season in Miami. Diddy problem. I'm trying to stay out of the fake news, and we can't sit here today and predict whether OBJ is going to finish the season with the Dolphins or not. I mean, who knows? My guess is he spends a lot of time here, but you know what? A lot of NFLers spend a lot of time here. I think he's got a house here. And just so you know, Darren, you were only here for a week. That you can't do anything. Well, you're only here for 5 days. You can't do anything in 5 days here in terms of like getting around and really experiencing what South Florida has. But when Serena and I were taping our podcast the other day, Cats and Bolts, the studio podcast junkies, they talked about Michael Vick was in the studio the other day, and I was like, what? They're like, yeah, he sat in your chair right there, Michael Vick. It's no big deal to them. I'm still, what? He's like, oh, yeah, he lives here. They all live here. You know what I mean? Even if they don't play for the Dolphins, or even if they didn't play for the Dolphins, they all live here. It is freaking wild. You didn't get a sense of that. What were the cool things that you did enjoy when you were here a year ago for our 1000th show? Golden Corral. That was one. No, we hit the ocean.
You can do that anywhere, dude. You can do that in Bismarck. Come on, do better.
But you did show me where Oprah Winfrey lives.
That's right.
Which was cool.
Oh.
Yeah, you showed me where Oprah lives, and we went and saw boat campers, and we did the the tour. We saw the yachts and all the rest. So, I saw all that. Went down to the beach house and got the lay of the land. Didn't go to Miami, though.
Brent, we went to Golden Corral in Miami. So, but you didn't see Will Smith, Miami.
Welcome to Miami. No. Or the Keys.
Yeah,
that's
time.
on my list, too, is the Keys. Yeah.
Well, you don't do that in a day. Brent from Wellington, Florida, my buddy, says, Rod, you would put Bob Barker to shame. Happy Gilmore, part 2. Price is wrong, bitch. Supposed to be Football Friday. I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. We started on Odell Beckham Jr. finishing the season with the Dolphins. Do you think he's that bad of an ass? The Rams got him to play a whole season and win a Super Bowl with them.
No, I think he's going to be fine. He knows I think he has to know what situation he's coming into. He's no longer a number 1 or a number 2 target on an offense anymore. And he might not even be the 3rd target in that offense when you look at,
$8 million, by the $8 million. He's being paid almost like a number 2. But anyways, sorry to cut you off. Continue.
I know. But he's going to be a 3 or 4 option, which is okay. You get what you can out of him. It makes the Miami offense incredibly deep, and you're able to spread that ball around. So it'll be now up to Mike McDaniel and Tua to see if they can, engineer this into some sort of a playoff run and a run at a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, listen, I gotta spend a little more time with my football peeps because I've been with the hockey people a lot here. And I don't know that I'm going to be around the football people the next 3 weeks. Maybe I gotta look them up. because my plan is to come back to Canada for the summer, just so everybody knows that cares. And if you're watching this show, I would assume you do. But if the Panthers make a Stanley Cup run, that's going to change on a dime. But I'll say, were you one of the ones telling me that I had to watch Louder Milk on Netflix? You were telling me for the last couple of years, and you were one of the ones? Okay.
Yeah.
It's about basically a recovery coach and a sobriety leader, and it's so darn good. Sharita and I were hooked on it to the point that we're almost through it. Just so you know, my Thursday night gang that we get together with, it's like that gang on that show. So I was sitting there going, my life now is Louder Milk meets Ballers. That's pretty awesome. But what's weird about it was, until this change in my life was Letterkenny meets Corner Gas meets Last Chance U.
How about that?
That was my life, right? But now it's changed to Louder Milk and Ballers, and that's pretty cool. Laverne in Swift Current writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line regarding the photo that's at rodpeterson.com right now. Top item with regards to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame induction. He says, Rod, love the picture of Jim Hobson pumped up. As a longtime Rider fan, I want to see that passion starting at the top again. It's fun to watch you guys. Rest in peace, Mr. Hobson. Yes, his celebration of life will be this afternoon, and it will be live streamed from Spears Funeral Home, and the great man will be laid to rest. We had our end of life conversation, Jim and I. He gave me my marching orders, just like he used to. He told me what he thinks about everything and everybody. What a man. What a leader. What a winner. Moose, we're done. We got our picks in. You have a great Toronto weekend.
Yeah, you have a great weekend as well.
David Naylor's in next on this Football Friday from TSN. We'll be right back on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
The RP show continues on a football Friday, and you gotta love live daytime television because we have breaking news. Chase Claypool signing with the Bills. OBJ here with the Miami Dolphins, and the Canadian Football Hall of Fame announcing a stellar class for 2024. Marvin Coleman, S.J. Green, Weston Dressler, Vince Goldsmith, Ray Yauch, Ed Laverty, and in the media wing, statistician Steve Daniel and TSN's Farhan Lalji. And we welcome in Dave Naylor, TSN Insider. David, I just ran through your Twitter. I saw you wrote the nomination for Steve and Farhan. I helped with Ray Yauch. So this is a great day, buddy.
It is, and I covered Ray Yauch, of course, at the same time that you were in Saskatchewan in the mid '90s as well. So, yeah, I mean, I've been around the CFL long enough that there's not too many people that can go in the Hall of Fame that I did. Although Vince Goldsmith predates me. I was in high school when he was the Toronto Argonaut, but so I never covered him. But I certainly all the others I covered, and yeah, this is special for me. Steve Daniel's a guy who I was great to see him get this recognition because he's not somebody the public knows, and he has an incredible skill and ability, not just to generate numbers and stats, but to make them relevant. I mean, he actually tracks the CFL game on a weekly basis. So if the game is sort of going off the rails, you know, and from an entertainment standpoint, Steve's the first one to flag it, and you know, rule changes and things are all. He makes presentations to the rules committee to help them make decisions, all those kinds of things. And he's also been great help to me on different things that I've content created for the CFL over the years. And of course, Farhan Lalji, who I don't know anybody who has a greater passion for all levels of football in this country than he does. I am lucky to have him as my work partner, as he affectionately calls me, his work wife. We talk to each other about 5 times a day. And I really, I'm not just blowing smoke here. I'm so lucky to have a work relationship with him, and we work so closely together. Everything he knows, I know. Everything I know, he knows, and that's how we're able to do the work we do together.
Well, congratulations to all, and for your hand in it. And in my role with the Riders for so long, I'd have been lost without Steve Daniel, man. The guy's a wizard, as you've very eloquently pointed out. And they did a nice job of representing almost every team. Not every team, but close with that. So it is a stellar class. If you don't mind, moving on to Chase Claypool to the Bills. A lot of Bills fans in your area. How do you? And it's only a 1-year deal. How do you see this working out?
Well, he's going to be wide receiver 4, I would think. And that's on a team where the tight end will probably be their leading pass catcher this year. So I don't know how many balls he's going to see. I mean, it's much has been made of the fact that Bills right now don't have a true number 1. They just spent their first pick early in the 2nd round on Keon Coleman out of Florida State, and he may eventually become wide receiver 1. But, you know, they've got Khalil Shakir, who was their leading receiver in the final 12 games of last season, who's only going into his 3rd season. They signed Curtis Samuel as a free agent, and now they've drafted Keon Coleman. So I think all 3 of those guys are going to get opportunities ahead of Chase Claypool. And then you've got Dalton Kincaid, who I mentioned, who's going to who may suck up the most passes of anybody on the team. So I don't see him as a high volume guy. It's obviously a low risk deal for the Bills, a 1-year deal, and I assume the salary's not off the charts. We'll see how Keon Coleman, how quickly he develops and how much he's ready for prime time at the end of training camp. I could see where Claypool might get more opportunities, in the short term as Keon Coleman is evolving. They're kind of similar, at least in that they're bigger receivers, and neither of them true burners by NFL standards. So you can see them kind of in similar roles. But look, I think Chase Claypool's career is at the stage where he's got to prove himself. It's funny, even the last pass of the regular season last year, which was an interception by the Bills in Miami. It was a pass directed at Chase Claypool. That was obviously the last pass directed at him as a Miami Dolphin. He just hasn't been productive. And, Chicago still believed in him when they traded for him from Pittsburgh because, they gave up a fair amount to get him. But since then, it's been kind of take what you can get. Now, all that said, lining up to play for Josh Allen has been the tonic for a lot of receivers. It's a place people want to play. It's a guy people want to play with. And it's been one of the best offenses, really in the NFL. They've got a new coordinator, taking over halfway through last year in Joe Brady. I think it's a good spot for him, but I don't think anything's guaranteed for him in Buffalo. No. Smart signing for the Bills as well.
Yeah. I don't think anybody thought his NFL days were over because he's still so young and he's so talented. We're talking about today's.
All it is right now is that teams are not willing to risk anything. Like, he'll get opportunities as he has with Buffalo. It's just the days of teams willing to invest and risk in him, I think that's what's past, not his opportunities in the NFL.
CFL training camps open, rookie camps open this week. That's got to get a guy like you pretty darn excited, I would think.
Absolutely. It's the start of the real season. I mean, there isn't much down season in football, between especially covering both leagues. I was at the CFL Combine, I was at the NFL Combine, I covered both drafts and the run up to both. So I think there is just that anticipation of everybody wants to see the draft picks on the field, see what they've got, see how many of them get out of NFL mini camps or any of them stay down there. And then you've got, all the free agent movement. There's a real kind of, I think, freshness of every team at this time of year. And look, I think the CFL has been knocked sometimes for having a lot of player turnover. I would be curious, actually, whether it's even more than in the National Football League these days, because the NFL, the way that league is run these days, has an enormous amount of player turnover as well. But I think there is that just curiosity, whether it's, you want to see A.J. Ouellette in Toronto, or, I was just going through trying to come up with a question for every team in the CFL, and you can find them pretty easily. Toronto, how will the free agent exodus? How are they going to survive that? What's Chris Streveler's role going to be in Winnipeg? Is he going to be just the backup quarterback, or is he going to be a lot more than that? And then you have even something like Christian Covington signing in BC. And, it was a weird thing last year. Here's a little trivia note. I get notes from fans every once in a while that want to point things out, and some of them are relevant, some of them are not. But somebody sent me a great one. Last year was the first time in the history of the 9-team Canadian Football League that the teams ended the season with the exact same standings. 1 through 4 in the East and 1 through 5 in the West were identical to the year before. That had never happened in the 9-team CFL. It had happened a few times in the 8-team CFL, but it never happened in the 9, which means we had the same 3 teams miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, which doesn't happen very often either. And of course, that means you've got a lot of pressure in those 3 markets right now to try to turn things around in Edmonton, Saskatchewan, and Ottawa. And I think all 3 teams are poised to do so. I expect them all to be competitive this year.
Yeah, buddy. But not everybody can make the playoffs. They'll be better.
No, and
who's going to be worse?
I think Hamilton has put all its eggs. Well, I shouldn't say, but they put all their eggs. I think the Bo Levi Mitchell decision is surprising to me. Given the way that went in year number 1, I did not expect to see them double down and come back. Now, they have Taylor Powell behind him, who's not a raw rookie anymore, and that may say as much about how much they believe in Taylor Powell as it does that they believe in Bo Levi Mitchell. We've got the Chad Kelly situation. We expect to learn something about that soon. Can't tell you for sure, but with all the other deletions on the Argonauts roster, if Chad Kelly misses part of the season, what is that going to mean? And I think in Edmonton, you've got McLeod Bethel Thompson, who's been gone from the league for a year, that's a big one as well, I think. And Saskatchewan, they haven't guaranteed Trevor Harris the job. He's got to win that job in training camp. And what do they have behind him? So, yeah, it's inevitably, it's always interesting when you get to the midpoint of the season, because somebody who expected to be really happy by the midpoint of the year is not. As you suggest, Rod, we play 4 games a week. Doesn't matter how well everybody does in the offseason. Doesn't matter if they've got the greatest coaches and personnel. Can't produce more than 4 wins a week.
It is exciting to talk about, and as you say, it's finally here. David, thanks for the time. Keep in touch, my friend.
Look forward to talking to you again, Rod. Take care.
Thank you, pal. TSN's Dave Naylor with a wonderful CFL NFL chat. We'll be right back with Overtime right after this. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
It's a hot one in South Florida. They're all going to be that way moving forward from now. And welcome back for Overtime, everybody. Brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. And Randy and Michelle, if you're watching, see what I got here? See what I did here? Overtime Hockey Lanes ball cap right on the set. I know our radio listeners can't see it, but the television viewers can. Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Still hockey season. Get the kids down there. Well, you don't have to be a kid unless you're a big kid like me. And you'll love Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast in Cowtown. Just a snapshot away from the old Crossroads Flea Market. Hope you guys are enjoying the hockey at OT Hockey Lanes, and thanks for the support. They got our logo adorning their best lane every day. Why don't we have their logo on ours? How about that? We have a lot of time here for We have a lot of time for overtime for you to get to me. 902-518-3033 on the final segment of the week on what is just like our free-for-all Friday. And it is kind of a free-for-all in terms of what we've been talking about. By now, through 1,236 episodes of this show, if you didn't know already that I was the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for 20 years, I've been covering the league since 91. And when I got out of that, I was like, I want to cover all sports. And then we get here, and I'm like, in terms of 1,236 episodes in, I'm sitting here looking at this weekend going, NBA, NHL, baseball tonight, Kentucky Derby, United Football League, NFL news, CFL news. It is a lot to stay on top of. And this voice in the back of my head's like, this is what you wanted. You didn't want to focus on one team. So here we are. It is a lot, but it's fun as hell. Don writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line, and I appreciate him. He's in Saskatoon. He writes in and says, hello, Rod. This is Don. First time in. The Leafs will win as long as Austin Matthews is out. Matthews in, Leafs will lose. Reason there's trouble in the dressing room and the bench, bad apples always spoil the whole box. I think Matthews got benched. Clark, do you think Don in Saskatoon's been drinking?
Hot take.
Today. It's a little early to be drinking, Don. We respect all opinions, but come on. You think they don't know Austin Matthews? The 69 goal scorer? The guy that they are going to make beginning next year the highest paid player per season in the National Hockey League, benching him in the playoffs because he's a bat. You're wrong, bro. You're wrong. I got to say it. You're wrong. I can't go along with that. You can say whatever you want on this program, but wear a helmet. The Vancouver Canucks need just one win tonight to book their ticket to round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vancouver carries a 3-2 lead in their best-of-7 opening round series into Nashville tonight. Canucks fell 2-1 Tuesday in an elimination game at home. Elsewhere, Dallas looks to earn a backdoor sweep against Vegas in Game 6. I didn't write it. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I do if I had to think about it, but Moose and I both picked Vancouver and Vegas to win tonight. The Toronto Blue Jays are in Washington, opening a 3-game series. Aiming to snap a 2-game slide, Yusei Kikuchi will start on the mound for the Jays, while the Nats counter with Patrick Corbin. There are potentially 2 series-clinching games in the NBA tonight, playoffs. The Cleveland Cavaliers match up against the Magic, carrying a 3-2 first-round series lead into O-Town. Meanwhile, the Dallas Mavericks will look to capitalize on home court to take out the Clippers in 6. I do like the NBA. Like, Serena and I, if you don't know who she is, you will. We kind of argue about this. It bothers her when people yap off and say they're hockey fans, but they don't know the game. And I'm like, who cares? At least they're fans. I don't know anything about basketball, but I like watching the games. Does that make my opinion not count for anything? I don't have an opinion on it. I just watch it and I enjoy it. Maybe that's the difference. I don't yap off about it like hockey and football fans. But anyways, speaking of basketball, the Scarborough Shooting Stars of the Canadian Elite Basketball League announced today that they have signed Jackson Rowe. The 6'7" forward recently played for Santa Cruz of the NBA G League, where he averaged 12.4 points per game. The Toronto product is no stranger to the CEBL. Rowe played the past 2 seasons in Ottawa, where he averaged 12.8 points over 31 games. The Canadian Elite Basketball League season tips off May 21st in Calgary. Next night in Saskatoon, the Winnipeg Sea Bears are there. And I'm just a big fan of the league. We're not going to sit here and talk about it. We've discussed this. We're not going to have breaking analysis. We're going to talk here NHL, NFL, and CFL on Fridays. But we'll put the league's news in here because we're fans of it. CEBL, WCBL, Western League tonight. The Blades, I didn't write those games down. Blades home to Moose Jaw tonight in a WHL Eastern Conference series that is 2-2. Tune in to Clayton Croker's podcast if you want to know who I want to win that series. I'm not going to drop it here. I don't want to start a riot. Sports updates for Landmark Cinemas, where Wednesdays are made for movie twosomes, and you don't need to be a famous movie twosome like Jack and Rose, Han and Chewie, or Mr. and Mrs. Smith to get 2 admissions, 2 medium fountain drinks, a large popcorn, and your choice of candy for just one great low price. But what you will need is someone to go with you because this is a deal worth sharing. It's the Wednesdays movie twosomes. Every Wednesday, believe it or not. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtimes. And brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company in Calgary, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. Last minute of play in the week of the RP show. Allie in Texas says, great show as always. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Go Stars. Wayne in BC. Go Canucks, go. Monty in Saskatoon says, go Blade.
How about that?
Everybody's got their team. Everybody's got their team to cheer for. Colin in Ottawa says, man, the Leafs look pretty good defensively. As a member of the Anybody But Toronto Club, I am very worried. You get a pass from Ottawa. You can hate the Leafs. I get it. But I'm cheering for them because they've ironically become an underdog. How about that? How about Ryan in Saratoga, New York? He says, have a great weekend, Rod Squad. Another great week of afternoon sports talk. Thank you, Ryan. Go Albany! Firewolves, I got you. We'll see you here Monday talking about it all here on Game Plus and Key Radio.
Who has more fun than us?